All right, let's have a look at a few things on this MS880. I did a little bit of port work to this. Got a new meteor piston, fresh bearings, seals, gaskets, all OEM. Well, I used a notchy bearing for the flywheel side, but the your clutch side bearing, PTO bearing, that's OEM. Anyway, took 40 thousandths off the base, got the squish at about 28 thousandths, not too tight. I did lighten this piston up just a little bit. I opened up those windows. I don't know, I didn't weigh it to see how much we really took out of it. I did not widen the intake port at all, but I did reshape it and kind of square it up a little bit. And it is lowered just a touch. I would have liked to do a little bit more on the lowers, but here, let me get something to point with. Over here, I would normally take this out a little bit more, but the casting right here is very thin, and I didn't want to cut outside the lines, so to speak. So just a little bit to direct it towards the back of the port and have my scavenging all nice and correct. Let's take a look at the, see how that does. There we go. Slight widening. Yeah, got too much glare. Still a few. I probably could have polished that out a little bit. You know, you can polish these all you want, but if your grinding's not super smooth, but there's always going to be a little bit of carbon buildup in here, no matter if it's slick as a minnow or there's a little bit of texture to it. But anyway, all the rough spots are done. Went back and re-chamfered in there really nice. I got a couple of ugly spots in this cylinder, but I think they're going to be fine. You know, it's part of the downfall when you know, let's take a look at the piston that came out of here. You know, when these saws burn down, you know, they're in the middle of a big long cut and they don't lock up until they're just cooked. So we should be fine here. You know, what shows up on camera looks a lot worse because you get the glare, the reflection of the light. All that stuff there is pretty tidy. Little muffler mod. Not a whole lot to do here on the sides. There's a lot of casting work right there, and it's thick. So put a little bit of a crown right here and then lowered this. And the reason for that, in my mind, is that as the exhaust comes out of the combustion chamber, it flows, here, let's try it that well. It flows downward. So you want to clear that path. Add another muffler port, and I did that V-shaped just so we don't have any worry about melting the brake handle. You always have to be really careful with that. Let me see if I can't get some light on that. And then I all but doubled the size of the stock exhaust port that has the deflector on it. And so I thought I'd document this a little bit. We'll go through and I'll spend a little bit of time with the linkage on this 880. You know, it's as bad as an 880. There's just that little gap in time. There's a handful of them out there that are 880s that are actually 088s during that rebranding from the O series to the MS series. All right, enough about that. We'll cut it short here, and I'll come back and hit some of the finer points when we do some assembly. All right, this won't be much of a how-to. But I will at least show you the ins and outs of this perplexing linkage. My tripod's at work. But anyway, so I've got the carburetor on its studs, I've got the fuel line hooked up. It goes under the carburetor, and once you slide this up, you just got to make sure that it doesn't pinch. Here's the sneaky one that you don't see. This is your impulse vacuum line. It actually has to go in between your idle speed adjustment and your choke lever, and then it plugs into that nipple up there. If you try to ride it around the back somehow, it will interfere with your linkage. All right, so what we'll do is, here's your choke rod. This is your first piece, and that's how it goes. This rod, the flat end, goes into that clamp for the trigger. That needs to be installed. The one with the big bend in it right there, that's your throttle. And then this goes on last. And it's got two different style. The larger end hook, the end that's more hooked goes into linkage. And then that goes into the choke butterfly. All right, we'll put a little bit of this together, and I'll show you how we finally button it all up. All right, so I got everything mocked up. I did remove this grommet right here. So I hooked up the throttle rods to the throttle rod and just drape this to the trigger. Slid that in, and then hooked up the choke linkage right there. So you've got two things that have to line up. So, and let's see if I can get you in a little closer. That's the right angle. All right, so right there, you got to snap in place, and right in here, you've got to snap in place. So that needs to be over, and then there's one final hold down piece. Right there, and it snaps over the end to hold everything in place. That's as thorough as I could be about it. I'll do just one quickie when it's all together. All right, there it is, fully assembled. Again, your fuel line goes in between little end, big end, bent end. But anyway, there's that. And let me back this out. And choke lever works. All right, ready to keep moving now. All right, everything's all back together again. I got sidetracked with a handful of projects on this. There's a stud that the brake handle goes into that was snapped off, and that was part of the damage from the bent handle that we replaced. And one thing I didn't have on hand was another elasto stop rail, but I will replace that before we send it back to the customer. Because that ain't gonna last long. With the timing advance and the bump and compression, it'll about rip that cord out of your hand. I'll do a quick video on how to dress your bar. I mean, I know a lot of people will use, here, let me flip that upside down. I don't know if you call that preferred, preferred, whatever. But I mean, everybody's seen this. They make abrasives. They make really nice files. They make really nice everything. This bar had to be dressed. There was a fair amount of wear on it. And this bar has the wide nose tip on it. And you just don't see those anymore. These are some of the best bars ever built. Get my finger out of the way, I switch hands. Anyway, saw it turned out great. Runs like a champ. Just wanted to do a little wrap up of the thing. As far as the Holtz Forma, Farmer Tech, whatever, fuel tank, guys, I'm, you know, aside from the janky components and as intricate as the choke and trigger and throttle lock system is, I wasn't going to chance it. I'm sure it would have been fine, and maybe you had to massage it a little bit, but for this saw, it really has to be dead nuts. I did notice that the fitment of everything for the handle was so much better this time. You know, the actual molded plastic is an identical copy. Everything lined up perfectly. No issues, no stretching, no bending, no nothing. So we'll call that a win. I've already done some test cuts with it, and she's a runner. Let's see if I can't find a good tooth. Here, let me flip this around. I think I did a better job on the other side than I did on this. Did some square filing. I mean, it cut good. You know, and I thought I had it, and then I lost it. Whatever I'm doing, I think I just need to videotape myself while I'm filing and figure out what I'm doing differently, because I had to go back and touch up a few of the teeth. I'm not getting the side plate angle like I want it. You know, I don't think I'm leaning on the file hard enough. Okay, enough long-winded chit-chat. I'll call this a win. We'll get this up, and we'll also get video of it running. And I guess that's all I got. Y'all have a great time. Thank you.